It started just after 3 a.m. I had been asleep, dead to the world, until something pulled me out of my dreams. A strange humming noise. Low, vibrating, almost musical. At first, I thought it was coming from inside the house. Then I saw the light, and everything changed. A pale, greenish light flickered through my bedroom window, casting long, distorted shadows against the walls. I sat up slowly, confused. There weren't any streetlights behind my house, no neighbors close enough for their lights to spill into my yard. So what the hell was it? I crept toward the window, heart pounding, pulled back the curtain just enough to see, and then I froze. Something was standing in the yard. The light wasn't coming from a lamp or a flashlight. It was hovering, moving, shifting, pulsing, like it was alive. And beneath it, half hidden in the glow, were shadows. Not trees, not animals, shapes, people. At least they looked like people. But they weren't moving right. They stood too still, their heads tilted slightly upward as if listening. Then, all at once, they turned toward me. A sharp static noise filled the room. Not from my phone, not from the TV. It was just there. A whisper, layered and distant, like multiple voices speaking at once. My name. I heard my name. I stumbled backward, yanking the curtain shut. No. I wasn't imagining this. I could still see the light seeping through the fabric, shifting, waiting. The whispering grew louder. And then, a tap at the window. I ran, straight out of my bedroom, down the hall, toward the front door. My fingers fumbled with the lock, my breath coming fast, panic rising like a wave. I had to get out. I had to. Then I stopped. Through the peephole, the front yard was pitch black. No lights, no shadows, nothing, just silence. I turned slowly, back toward the hallway. The whispering was gone. The glow was gone. I crept toward the bedroom window again, pulled the curtain back, just a crack. The yard was empty. The only thing left was a faint imprint in the grass. Like something, had been standing there, watching. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I sat in the living room, lights on, staring at my phone, waiting for something else to happen. Nothing did. By morning, the yard looked completely normal. No footprints, no disturbances. But I know what I saw. And now, every night, I check the window. Because sometimes when the wind is just right, I swear I can hear my name. It was late, way past midnight. I had fallen asleep on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, the soft hum of the TV fading into the background. The only light in the room came from the screen, flickering against the walls. Everything was calm, until the static started. And then, I wasn't alone. I woke up suddenly, not to a noise but to silence. The TV had been on when I fell asleep, some random late-night show playing. But now, just a black screen. The remote was still on the coffee table. I hadn't touched it. I sat up, rubbing my eyes, reaching for it, when the screen suddenly flickered back to life. Not to the show, to static, loud, crackling, filling the whole room. I grabbed the remote and tried to turn it off. Nothing. The power button. Nothing. I pressed every button. Volume, menu, input. Nothing worked. Then the static changed. It wasn't random noise anymore. It was shaping into words. At first, it was faint, just a low murmuring, mixed in with the crackling white noise. Then I heard it. My name. Clear. Distorted. Whispered through the static. I felt a shiver crawl up my spine. I turned the volume all the way down. The whispering didn't stop. It got louder. I stood up slowly, heart pounding, stepping back toward the hallway. Then, the screen changed. The static flickered, then shifted into a grainy black and white video feed. At first, I couldn't tell what I was looking at. The screen was dark, unfocused. Then the image sharpened, and my stomach dropped. It was my living room. I was looking at myself, from behind. The back of my head, my body frozen in place, exactly as I was standing right now. Something moved in the screen's corner. A shadow, a figure, standing just behind me. I spun around so fast I nearly tripped. Nothing. The room was empty. I turned back to the TV. The screen was black again. No static, no image, just my own reflection in the glass. Breathing heavily, eyes wide, and then my reflection blinked. I didn't. I grabbed the remote and slammed the power button. This time it worked. The screen went dark. I stood there, frozen, for what felt like hours. Then, slowly, I turned around, checking every shadow, every dark corner. Nothing. Just silence. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I unplugged the TV and shoved it in the basement. But sometimes when I pass by the door, I swear I can still hear the static. I was alone that night. It was supposed to be a quiet evening, just me, some leftovers, and a couple of episodes of my favorite show before bed. Nothing out of the ordinary. But then I started noticing small things that didn't feel quite right. And by the time I realized the truth, it was too late. It started with a chair. I walked into the kitchen and noticed that one of the chairs at the table was slightly pulled out. I frowned. I hadn't used the table that day. Had I left it like that earlier? Probably. I pushed it back under and grabbed a drink from the fridge. But when I turned around, the chair was pulled out again. I stood there, bottle in hand, staring at the chair. A weird chill crawled up my spine. I shook my head. Maybe I had imagined pushing it in. Maybe I was just tired. I grabbed my drink and walked back to the living room, forcing myself to ignore the uneasy feeling creeping in. The house was silent. Too silent. That's when I noticed something else. The hallway mirror. I could see the reflection of the living room, the couch, the coffee table, the TV. But something was off. There was a dark shape in the reflection, something standing just out of sight. I turned fast. Nothing. The hallway was empty. I let out a shaky breath, feeling ridiculous. I was scaring myself. Then, a soft creak from upstairs, like a footstep on the wooden floor. I froze. I live alone. My heart was pounding. I grabbed my phone, fingers trembling, and texted my best friend. "I think someone's in my house." No response. Another creak. Closer this time. I grabbed the heaviest thing nearby, a lamp. I held my breath, moving slowly toward the stairs. I didn't want to go up, but I had to check. I reached the bottom step. That's when I saw it. The attic hatch. It was open. I never used the attic. I don't even store anything up there. The string to pull it down was still swaying. Someone had just come down. I backed away, my breath coming fast, gripping the lamp tighter. Then, a hand slid over the railing at the top of the stairs. Pale, motionless, too long. It wasn't my hand. I didn't think. I dropped the lamp and bolted for the front door. My fingers fumbled with the lock, my pulse roaring in my ears. Behind me, I heard footsteps, fast, heavy, coming down the stairs. I didn't look back. I tore the door open and ran outside, screaming. My neighbor's porch light flicked on, and I heard them calling my name. By the time they reached me, the house was silent again. Empty. But I know what I saw. The police searched the house. Nothing. No signs of forced entry, no footprints, no attic ladder pulled down. They told me it was just a dream. Maybe stress. But I know the truth. Someone was in my house. And worse, they never left through the front door. I first noticed it around 10 p.m. A car parked across the street from my house. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe it was a neighbor's friend or someone waiting to pick someone up. But an hour later, it was still there. No lights on, engine running, and I couldn't see who was inside. I was home alone that night, just relaxing in the living room with the TV on. At some point, I got up to grab a drink and casually glanced out the front window. That's when I noticed the car again, still parked, still running. Something about it made me uneasy. I turned off the lights inside just in case. If they were watching me, I didn't want them to know I was watching back. I peered out from behind the curtain. The driver's seat was empty, but the car was still running. And the worst part? The passenger side door was slightly open, like someone had just stepped out. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I nearly jumped. Pulling it out, I saw a text from an unknown number. "Why don't you come outside?" I felt my stomach drop. I glanced back out the window. The car hadn't moved. My hands felt clammy as I typed back, "Who is this?" No response. Then a second text came through. "I can see you." I dropped the curtain immediately. I paced my living room, heart pounding. Maybe it was a prank, a wrong number, someone messing with me. Then I heard it, a faint rustling sound from the backyard. Slow, deliberate, like someone walking through the grass. My breath hitched. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. It rang twice, then static. No sound, no operator, just a faint breathing noise, like someone was listening. I hung up fast. I crept toward the back door, hands shaking. The porch light was on, but it barely illuminated the yard. I squinted through the glass. Nothing, just the trees swaying slightly in the wind. I reached out slowly and locked the door. Then I turned back toward the living room and froze. A shadow moved across my front window. Someone was standing on my porch. I backed up, heart hammering, gripping my phone like it was a lifeline. Another text came through. "I'm here." I didn't wait. I ran to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and bolted to my bedroom, locking the door. I sat there in the dark, barely breathing, listening. Then silence. No footsteps. No knocks. I sat there for what felt like hours, clutching the knife, waiting for something, anything. Then I heard it, the sound of a car door slamming shut. I forced myself to move, creeping back toward the window, peeking out as carefully as I could. The car's brake lights flickered on. Then, just like that, it pulled away. No one ever got back in. I watched until the taillights disappeared down the street, and then nothing. No explanation. No more messages. No sign that anyone had ever been there at all. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I checked my phone. The texts were gone. I checked my security cameras. But the footage? It froze at 10:02 p.m., right when I first saw the car. It didn't unfreeze until sunrise, like nothing had happened, like I had imagined the whole thing. But I know what I saw. And now every time I see a parked car outside my house, I wonder if they're back. It started with a single knock. I was home alone, curled up on the couch, half watching a movie while scrolling through my phone. It was late, maybe past midnight, and the house was silent except for the low hum of the TV. Then, knock, knock, knock. I froze. It wasn't loud, not urgent, just unexpected. I live in a quiet neighborhood, the kind where no one just shows up unannounced, especially not at this hour. I glanced at my phone. No missed calls, no texts. I waited, barely breathing. Nothing. Probably just my imagination. I turned back to the TV, trying to shake the uneasy feeling creeping up my spine. Then, bang, bang, bang. My heart nearly jumped out of my chest. That was louder, harder, almost angry. I hesitated, then slowly got up, walking toward the front door. Every step felt heavier, like my body was warning me not to go. The peephole was useless. It was too dark outside to see anything. I flipped on the porch light and cautiously cracked the door open, just enough to see outside. No one was there. I stepped out onto the porch, looking both ways down the street. Completely empty. The only sound was the wind rustling the trees. A chill ran through me. I shut the door fast and locked it. I stood there for a moment, heart pounding. Maybe it was just kids messing around. Maybe it was a prank. I was about to head back to the couch when knock, knock, knock. My breath hitched. The sound was coming from the back door. There was no way someone could have moved that fast without me seeing them, and yet bang, bang, bang. Harder this time. The house suddenly felt too quiet, the walls too thin. I wanted to ignore it, pretend it wasn't happening, but something in my gut told me I couldn't. I grabbed the heaviest object nearby, a metal flashlight, and slowly crept toward the back of the house. The door had a small window with a curtain. I reached out, trembling, and pulled it aside. Nothing. I exhaled, shoulders dropping. Then, as I started to turn away, a shadow moved. It was quick. Just a flicker of movement on the edge of the yard. Someone, or something, was standing just beyond the glow of the porch light, too far to make out any details, too still to be normal. I took a shaky step back, forcing myself to breathe. I don't know why, but something inside me screamed not to open that door. Instead, I reached for my phone, dialed 911. The second I hit call, silence. No dial tone, no ringing, just dead air. The knocking stopped. I stared at my screen, dread pooling in my stomach. Then through the window, a hand pressed against the glass. I ran. I don't remember much after that. Just grabbing my car keys and bolting out the front door, running straight to my car. I didn't stop, didn't look back. By the time I reached the nearest gas station, my phone started working again. I called the police. They came, checked the house. No footprints, no signs of forced entry, nothing. They told me it was probably a prank, or maybe a bad dream. But I know what I saw, and sometimes, when I'm home alone at night, I still hear the knocking, and I never check the back door.